Oops. Okay, I'm just going to bust out of that. I just can't wait to get to the show on tonight. Hey, this is Dean Baker. Welcome to another edition of Modern Day Thrive. Alongside of me, George in his old web camera. Which do you look? Are you naturally fuzzy? Because your camera does look a little fuzzy, but that's all right. It's probably the
I
lighting in
remember
here.
this last year when you were doing this from
Yep.
home. And I'm like, okay, so he's going to be a little glitchy tonight. So, as always, with me, George Weber. George, welcome.
Hello. How is everyone tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been an
Awesome.
interesting week. We won't even talk about your text message today where you said Algorand went through the roof, and I
It was
started
quick.
looking. Now we're going to save that to the end of the show. You know, I
All right.
like. You know, I actually some good things happened there. But all right. So tonight on Modern Day Thrive, where we talk about things like side hustle and crypto, of course, and small business, multiple streams of income. I know you like that, George.
I do.
And we're kind of adding another topic of financial planning. And you know, it's been an interesting week, and I kind of got to this point because today I just had a I was webcasting a seminar of financial planners talking about financial planning to other financial planners, and it was like the
Cool.
most confusing, and you know, I can't even bring really much information from that because they were talking in code. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you know, it's like the days of shorthand for accountants. You know, they had their version of shorthand you can't understand unless you know. Anyway, so there's a gentleman I met last week on another webcast. His name is Dan, and I've invited him to the show.
Awesome.
And we're just going to pull him right in. And Dan, welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing great. Your camera and your sound is better than George's, so you're doing great. You know.
I didn't know what to expect. This thing's like 6 years old, so.
Oh yeah, well, George's web camera might be 10 years old or something like that. Might be
Or
the
older.
first webcam ever. You know, so yeah, that's why we tried to pull him into the studio more often, just because of that, you know. But anyway, so you know, so Dan, you know, we met last week on another project, and I got to know that you've got your background is in business. Tell me a little bit about, you know, what part of the business world you were in.
So I'll just stick with the financial services area that I've
Okay.
been in for some time. Had a lot of experience working in treasury with a pretty major bank for quite some time. Was initially brought in way back for, you might recall, the old Y2K projects.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we were brought in for one of those projects that was supposed to be temporary, and we started providing support for the bank's clients that they just didn't have before. And the bank came around and said, you know what, we actually kind of need this on a permanent basis. So out of 25 contractors, they chose 10 of us to form this new group. to support their clients going on. And this was back in a time when clients were still using software they installed on their machines and they had to use dial-up.
Yeah.
They even still had some applications on DOS, believe it or not. So yeah, this is the late 90s. So you can imagine how they were a little bit behind the times, and broadband wasn't quite as popular yet, hadn't made its way out. But once it did, it was easier for banks to move over to the web presence and offer those services there. So
I do remember the panic that was coming because what was it? The computers could not move the date forward.
Yeah, past
so they
2000, I guess.
Many of the old mainframe systems were limited to only 2 characters for the year date.
Yeah.
So once we went 99, went back to 0, what happened is a lot of those computers, because they weren't built until the 80s, would default back to either 1900 or some would default back to like 1980, I believe.
That might wreak havoc with, like, I don't know,
everything.
Interest, everything. Yeah, anything that equating based on a date, anything that, you know.
It wasn't just banking; it was any system that had to record a date, right? So
that would
but
really
even the computer itself.
Yep, and easy enough fix to kind of go in and update those things, and we're going to accommodate, 4 digits for the date, and now you don't have to worry about it until the year 10,000, right?
So I know George you were doing IT, or still are doing IT, but you were doing IT at that time as well, and I'm sure you were running around like, what the hell's going to happen?
Lots of BIOS updates and things like that, trying to cover your basis on all the machines, and we did a lot with that.
So working with Treasury, I'm not sure I understand the concept.
Well, Treasury is the services that they have in the bank for moving your funds. And when you think of direct deposit, payroll, or debiting your accounts and all those electronics, that sort of stuff, that's one form of moving it. The other form of moving money is wires, right? So you're sending international wires to other countries, kind of things. And when you look at, I know you guys have been a little interested in crypto, but one of the cryptocurrencies out there, with the technology behind it and the blockchain behind it for Ripple, is one of those things to replace wires. So they don't have to wait for those other banking institutions to be available and open. They can start doing that any time of the day now. And banks are like trying to make sure that they don't get lost in the shuffle and want to still be involved in that. So they're trying to chase that down and make sure that they still control that wire piece.
Okay.
So that's just in a nutshell. There's other services that do account reconciliation, all kinds of other things, and lockbox services, and things you probably know of that you don't know, but,
right. The movement of money.
That's part of it. Yeah. The other side is reconciliation. Yep.
So this seminar that I didn't understand almost anything, but I did get some takeaways from what, and let me see if I can just pop that screen up. Hang on a second. Boom. So I'm not even going into full show mode, but this financial planning seminar, like I said, they were using these words that I just, the number, they'd have a code that they were talking in. It's like a 38. I'm like, what the hell is a 38 or 216? I don't even know. I'm not even getting the right numbers, so someone's going to go, Dean, what the hell were you thinking? Yeah. Cause my eyes were glossing over and it just, but some takeaway points I got was from this, and this is them talking to them about, obviously people just have no idea what financial planning is. And the other takeaway that actually clicked with me is people don't, and George and I have talked about this in the past, people don't have an emergency savings account. In fact, for something as little as $1,000, it's not little, but it's, for something of $1,000, they'd have to take out a loan or put it on a credit card, which is, and we've talked about things like that in the past, mostly about dealing with your debt survival. That's, I think, the word we've been using. But it got me thinking about a lot of the financial planning. And first of all, I'm kind of going, well, in a way, everybody that earns money is somewhat of a financial planner. The basics are this: the money you've got coming in, the money that you've got going out, you pay bills with it. It's financial planning. It's poor planning, if that's the end of it. money in, money
Yeah.
out. That's it. It's poor planning, but it's still planning. It's just it's a very, very minimal part
I
of
think
the.
I'd
Maybe
say
more
that's
reacting than
more,
planning.
yeah, more reactionary than planning. The planning is knowing what you're going to do ahead of time with what
So,
comes in.
so by doing that, I went to my friend Google, and I typed in financial planning, and of course a bunch of them pop up, and I'm going, what are the 4 steps of financial planning? It's like planning, strategy, tactics, monitor. Okay, well that's real loose definition. And then I found oh, well, there's 4 steps now over here that says what are the 5 steps of financial planning, and then what are the 7 steps. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous. It's a wonder why you
6.
can't all get together on the steps. So I'm already, you already lost me. In fact, this one that said 5, they only list like that was 5. Step 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, actually, one I clicked on, it was like the 7 steps, and they're only listed 6, and then it threw you to a website. Anyway, so I hit Charles Schwab, which was top of the list, and I'm going to go back to my my thing here, and this is where we can spend a little time. Actually, the next page. Financial planning. A financial plan isn't only for the wealthy. It doesn't have to cost a penny. No matter how much money you have, you can start with a DIY. And this is where I liked it. They weren't just selling me their services. They're saying you can do it yourself.
Yeah, giving you advice.
Yeah. So, of course, that's, they're a company that's been around for, I don't know, decades, right?
Yep.
Sure.
With a good foundation in place, you can feel more confident about your finances, blah, 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 blah. When the time comes, you might need the help of a professional. And of course, who are you going to call? Charles Schwab,
Yeah.
So we kind of get into the next thing, which I went to his 10-step program, writing down your goals. You guys want to jump in on any of this? And what would you consider the let's take number 1, write down your goals.
Yeah, there's short term and there's long term. A lot of cases you have to know both sides of that coin. So,
well, short term is I need to eat every week.
Yeah, where am I
I
at
need
today?
to pay. I need to keep the power bill on and the cell phone paid and all that. Those are
So that's your normal budget, right?
What's that now?
That's your normal budget, the budget that you have each month. Your financial planning might be outside of that, where you set up different buckets for saving, long term, short term, whatever they are.
Right?
Yeah.
Spend account, sure.
Right. And the other thing too, to back into this, is one of those things is that the type of saving you're going to do, you got to think about tax implications. So a lot of times I start with the IRS website and I take a look at that and say, well, first off, what are my benefits here each year? What's going to change? What's the earning, with the new tax tables, all those kind of things. Take those into consideration and say, how do I back into that to pay the least amount of taxes, still save this money, meet these goals I want to do? All of those things you want to weave together.
Yep. So writing down your goals basically is just kind of, maybe it's a vision board, maybe for some people,
sure,
you get used to it. If you write it down, you make it real instead of just saying, hey, one day. Now, speaking as someone who's been self-employed,
keeps you accountable,
30 years, I would do the same thing in business. I had to write down my, even if it's for a project, I would write down the key things I have to get done on that project, and that way it keeps me focused on hang on a second, let me get rid of this.
Keeps you honest.
That's exactly correct. I mean, when I used to do project management and those things when I was working at the bank, I'd have one of these. In fact, I think it's sitting right back over here somewhere. I'd have one of these 4-month calendars, and I had all my dates out, and here's what we had to meet, short-term deadlines. And I needed that visual when I'm on the phone, because somebody else is trying to put something else on my calendar, and I got to look up and say, that's
take your time.
That's not, right?
I used to have the big desk calendar, tear away every month, and I'd write down when my bills are due and I'd write down income, like checks are owed to me, so I keep a list of money that's coming in. And I still do that. I don't do it on the big, but
I handle that in a spreadsheet. But yeah, that's a good thing. And one of the things I do in that spreadsheet, other than listing just the due dates, I list the statement dates. So for any debt that I'm carrying that carries interest, I don't wait till the due date to pay it. I pay it on the first day of the statement cycle. Some of them I pay twice a month. I pay half then, half then, whatever works best for me, right? Kind of thing, and not the paycheck to paycheck. Because I've been doing this a long time without a paycheck for a long time too. So, it's one of those that lets me stay on top of it.
Yeah.
The other thing I have in that file for each account that's there, I have little notes about what's the interest rate, when does this particular promo period end if I have one of those kind of things. So all of that stuff is at a quick glance and quick order, and I update that thing a couple times a month. If something gets paid, this balance has changed, blah blah blah. It keeps me on top of that.
Plus, and George's done, he's been communicating this kind of stuff for me for years. Pay in the beginning of the cycle. And that way you're not paying at least interest on that amount you're paying.
That's correct. You're reducing the interest.
Yep,
absolutely.
So sometimes it's just it's a map. It's a your goals are where you want to be and where you want to go and where you are now. I think and
it's a guideline, sure.
Yeah, just write down your goals. Create a net worth statement. I didn't have a net worth up until a few years ago, so I had a net worth as a business. I'd invest everything I had into my business, and that can, I guess, carry as much as a garage sale at the end of a career. So,
well, you got to keep in mind you have an asset of a house. Your house also weighs into that value of your total net worth. So,
and if you have, if you happen to have equity in that house, I guess that's a part of your net worth that you can, and I'm guessing that's probably where you can. This is what we've talked about in the past as well, where you can kind of leverage assets or money that you have to do other things like pay down credit cards, get away from high interest loans, anything like that. So
invest.
That's a really smart thing. I've got a close friend I just talked to recently because of his situation. And I've tried to talk to him to say, hey, this is probably a good time for you to tap into that equity, do a refi, and take the cash out in his situation, and then use that cash to invest elsewhere to generate more revenue. And he's concerned. He says, well, the house prices might drop. And I said, well, that's a concern for somebody buying a new house. Somebody that already owns a house, if you do that refi now, you're locking in that equity. You still got the mortgage. You meet the obligations of doing that. And I talked to him about how he could pay it down early and all these other things. And, so those kind of things. So I was looking to reduce his payment, still put money in his pocket, and just to kind of put his mind at ease. But he's one of these that's fixated on, well, I don't want any debt. I don't want any debt. And in a low interest rate environment, you need to know how to use debt, how to manage that debt, and leverage it. What does debt get you? Debt gets you time, right? Debt is tax-free income, right? So it gets you time to meet a goal that you need to meet now as you pay it down later. If you're talking about a high interest rate environment, this is not the way to go. But we are not in that. We are in a historically low interest rate environment.
Yeah, for the time being.
Yeah.
We've been here longer than
a home equity line of credit.
Very, very long time. Yeah.
Well, property values
you don't
are
pay
going
unless
crazy.
you use it.
Property values are going crazy, and although the details. I'm talking about the bubble in 2008.
Right.
Property. Interest rates were down. Property values were skyrocketing.
Yeah.
The big difference is they weren't giving away the high risk loans, which really kind of caused the bubble to burst. But that doesn't mean, that was something that was new for us back in 2008.
Yeah.
What's the new thing that might cause a bubble now?
Right.
Obviously a pandemic could be part of that, where our government's writing checks that we just can't cash.
Right.
Someone's got to, the bill's going to come due, and it always does. And if you keep ordering food, someone's got to pay the bill.
So you had mentioned the HELOC just a moment ago, George. I think one of the things that you said, take that and then you don't pay on it. they've made some changes to those. I used to use those in the past, and they
Have
were
they?
pretty nice because what you did was you got an interest rate, and it was slightly, you would get a nice little promo thing for a short period of time, and then it would be based on a different figure. You add it to whatever the going interest rate was, whether they used LIBOR or whatever they used. So they had a cushion they put on top of that to say, and this is the interest rate you'll pay. Now they're doing different things to where trying to get people in and get them to take these loans by saying, hey, we'll offer you this low interest rate, provide you take this interest now up front. But you'll only get that interest rate for that first draw. After that, what happens is that other rate kicks in. And if you haven't paid that other piece down, now you got two different rates on that loan, and your money's going to the lower interest rate and the other one's right. So you have to watch those. Sometimes the smarter thing to do is to either take that whole thing out or just say, you know what, let me just refi, do it in the first. You got to think about those things. So you have to research how they've changed those plans and how those interests are going to apply.
So the HELOC is nice. Was it high? Was it
home equity line of credit?
Home equity line of credit, right? Forget that. But
I still say they have a lot of value, and it just depends on how you use them. There's a lot of strategies out there to use them to where it's really going to be less for you if you do it properly.
Yeah. So if I were to take one out today with what equity I've got available in the house, I would probably do that initial draw and take as much as I could, and then pay it down as I see fit, rather than worrying about what that other interest rate is going to be. Invest what I don't need to use right away for whatever projects I'm doing, should I need the cash kind of thing. And keep in mind, your draw period is good for, I think it's 10 years, and then the other 10 it goes to like a regular.
It's generally 10, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got to pay it off that, or you refi it again.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to my little drawing board here. Let's see. Where do we leave off? We created a net worth statement. Review your cash flow. Money in, money out, right? Right. So,
you know, I know personally know where your cash flow is.
Well, in the past, when you're self-employed, money in is a very, what's the word? It's not a real dependable,
loose interpretation.
It's a very loose interpretations. Whenever the clients decide they want to pay you, and whether you get the gig to get the client to pay you. I used to say my life was, in business is split into three things: trying to get the job, doing the job, and then trying to get paid for the job. But knowing your cash flow obviously can help you if you have a fixed income, which most people do. Then we all have mostly fixed expenses, and then it's a real basic statement. You got your income, you got your you keep a ledger, keep a spreadsheet, and it's pretty tells you what you have at the end of the month. Take all the pluses and take off the minuses, and whatever's left over. Hopefully there's something left over, and then you can do something with that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Income.
All right. So says zero in on your budget. Now I could go back to the things and get some explanation what they mean by some of this stuff, but zero in on your budget. In fact, I could probably do that then right now.
I think that's always looking at where you can reduce through better financing. It could be anything from your grocery bill. Making sure because they say you go in the grocery store without a list, you tend to come out of there with 20 things you didn't need.
And that's absolutely correct. Actually, George, you hit on a really good point. That's one of the things I do every week when I'm shopping. So I'll go to Publix sometimes. I'll go to Dollar General for certain other things. Dollar General on Saturdays, if you go online, you can get a $5 coupon off. If you spend $25, they'll give you $5 off. So that's a hunk. That's pretty 20% off right there, right?
Thanks for the tip.
And
$5.
They've got the manufacturer's coupons out there as well. So if you happen to be buying a manufacturer's coupons, those coupons apply first, and you still have to be above $25 after those coupons for that $5 to work. So you got to know that trick. Or sometimes
better though.
They put the $5 printed on a receipt sometimes, and what you can do is you can have them run that one first, then you punch in your phone number and it'll grab the ones you clicked online, and then that's a way to kind of game that system. With Publix, you do a similar thing. You go on, make your shopping list, you can see the ad, you can print it out, and you can also include your digital coupons, and they all come out on the same printout. And if you selected your store, it'll tell you what aisle it's on.
Publix has that BOGO that you can just kind of, people just go there sometimes just for the 2-for-1. I kind of find that, they're overpricing their BOGOs. So you wind up paying, not that much. You're not saving that much. You go to Walmart and it's probably very similar price to the BOGOs.
The trick is some of the coupons with the BOGOs, if you know how they work, sometimes there's a coupon that couples with the BOGO.
Yeah.
So you're getting, hey, 2 things of mayonnaise for the price of 1, and all of a sudden, hey, you got a $1.50 coupon on top of that.
Yeah,
it's pretty sweet.
And that's probably like, what I remember back from marketing class is the loss leaders is like they'll put a, certain percentage of the products out there at a loss so that they get you in the store. I was like,
right, absolutely,
yeah,
mayonnaise. That's where the list keeps you on track.
But zeroing in on your budget also means identifying, the sketchy spending habits, and we've talked miles over this topic, where you could be going out to eat too much. You're bleeding dry every month, and you're not going to really see it until you really put it out on paper. Track your expenses, track your spending, I remember one time in a previous relationship, we were going out to eat like 5 nights a week, and then it didn't take but adding them up.
You feel that quick?
I think I was doing my taxes the next year. I was doing my taxes and I'm going, holy crap. Spending, like $800 a month on going out to eat. And that's just eating at cheap places, I mean,
adds up quick.
Eat at Perkins restaurant and you're dropping $30-$40. And I was like, you do that 20 times a month, which we were.
That was my marriage. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've got some more stories from, how to identify when your spouse is leaking money from, just siphoning money out of your
car every 2 years. That was a indicator.
Mine had a credit card, and she'd go out with her sister shopping and stuff, and they'd see something, and then her sister would kind of like, "Ooh, I want to buy this." So my ex would go, "Ooh, here, I'll put it on my credit card, and you can just give me cash."
Nope.
And then she didn't pay you, did she?
And I'd never see it.
The cash disappears.
That cash just floated into something else. And I'm like, what is this? What is this? You got to really watch the spending because, and if there's 2 adults living together, married or not, and you're, and each have credit cards, and each, if you don't identify, there's always one in the family that's a little careless with the spending.
So you've made a good choice for separate accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
I'm going to mention one other quick thing about Publix I wanted to lay on you guys that you might not be aware of, and you might really like this. Every once in a while, they'll do these coupons where you can get a gas card, a $50 gas card for $40. That's 20% off gas.
Yeah.
But the coupons are only good like Thursday through Sunday. But you'll have to look for it. It'll be in the ad and you'll look for it. But it's a smart way to buy those gas cards and stock up on them. And then you're 20% off the price of gas.
Yeah. It's hard to, I can't go to Sam's Club for gas anymore because there's always 200 cars in line. It's like 1978 with the fuel shortage. There's 100 people in line in front of you at the pump, and I'm going, of course they're trying to save 20 cents a gallon, which adds up.
You spend quarter tank of gas waiting in line. The same thing at Costco.
Yeah, and they're all sitting there with the engines running and just waiting for that cheaper gas. And believe it or not, there are some places that the gas is just as cheap. I was going by a Sam's Club, and there was this other place. It was like, I can't think of the name of it. It was it's like Wawa, but times 100. It was this big, huge place. Wow. They're out of Texas. I can't think of the name of them. It'll hit me, but Their gas was actually the same price as Sam's Club.
Wow.
And they had like 50 pumps and they're open. And then right across the street were 200 cars waiting in line at Sam's Club. And I'm like, dude, there's gas across the street, same price.
Right.
And there's
I
also
think they get an additional reward for buying it at Sam's is probably why, but I know they do at Costco.
And of course there's that app now for smartphones that it'll tell you where the cheapest gas is. And
Get something, or I forget the name of it, but
yep, I have it. I don't use it. I guess I'm a creature of habit and I just go to where I go. But yeah, just that, Sam's Club is driving me crazy. It used to be a great deal. I could save, a tank of gas. I'd save $7. And you just can't wait that long for gas. What are we in post hurricane, Florida kind of thing. So yeah, budget's a big thing. If you're going to be flagrant about all the things you need, if you're going to go out and, go to a movie every night and drop that kind of money, you're going to pay.
I think another thing that people overspend on a lot of times are these different streaming services. They'll sign up for so many different ones and they forget they still have them. They're automatically billed. And I think I got a friend that uses the Sirius XM. I recently had to replace my car, and I'm getting all this mail from Sirius XM, and I'm pricing it. And I'm like, I don't spend enough time in the car to pay $22 a month for the satellite radio, even though I can stream it elsewhere, kind of thing. I'm not sure that I'm going to do it. And then my friend Mike, who Dean, think he has it, and he just calls them up. That's too expensive, and they cut him another rate.
Right. Well,
so I keep waiting, and they'll keep sending you a new one every week.
That told me another thing. It was not that long ago, maybe in the last 5 years. I remember seeing a story about AOL. Remember AOL back in the 90s? People were getting the DVD, the CD in the mail, and joining their dial-up. And 20 years later, there's still a lot of people still paying that $20 a month.
Good God.
Yeah, there was a story. It was on, whatever. It was on whatever MSN was running a story. And in fact, if I did a search, there's probably still people paying $20 a month for AOL back in the 90s.
Yeah. And this is one of the reasons businesses today are moving to this subscription model with everything. Remember when you bought software and you paid it for once and that was it? Everybody's moving now. I think antivirus kicked out this thing where they started billing all the time. And the next thing you know, Microsoft and others started to follow suit. Everybody is trying to move to that model so they can go to their investors and say, hey, look at the revenue we got coming in every month, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's doing it.
And all those suckers just, even when they don't use it, they're just still paying for it just to avoid. And then I firmly believe that after they do that, you can never get a hold of them on the phone to cancel an account. And they're probably paid to be difficult. They say, oh, be difficult, because they'll just get frustrated and leave, and they'll keep paying.
Yeah.
Well, that's where you need to know what your credit cards can do for you. You call them and say, listen, I've tried to review this charge, and I don't want to charge anymore, and they're ignoring me. I don't want you approving it anymore.
Yep, that's absolutely true. But then again, you got to call the credit card company and deal with them on that level, and
better service with them, though.
Yeah.
A lot of credit cards, much better service with a lot of those.
Yeah,
guys, trust me,
I'm sure they're diminished. But
dealing with Verizon on another issue, and dealing with the city of Castleberry on another issue, some other things, and it took 3 to 6 months to resolve some of those issues. But I got them resolved. But in comparison to those, a credit card I can call, get something resolved in 5 minutes, and really haven't had much of an issue ever with any of them. But I also used to manage a credit card program, so I know some ins and outs to how to negotiate a little quicker.
So focusing on debt management, boy, this is a topic we've gone.
That's my favorite.
Yeah,
me too.
Getting a handle on your debt, and my rule of thumb is get out of debt. Just if you can get out of debt, just any way you can, just get out of debt. And
should be everyone's goal for sure.
Yeah,
just how are you going to do it?
Just carry minimal debt. Just enough. What is it? What you shouldn't be in debt more than 10% of your it's good for your credit to have a certain amount of debt.
Well, that's 30%. If you're under 30% is the credit card number or the credit industry number they like to see.
Oh, sure. 30. That means 30% of the population, or 100% of the population, is carrying more than 30% debt. Yeah, it's like they're
oh wow. I mean,
all the way to the bank.
I meant to track it. And I'll do it tomorrow and maybe take some pictures of it instead of bringing up the site. But I was looking at the U.S. debt clock again. Oh my! You should see how fast those numbers are flying. Yep. It is. It's very interesting to watch, but it's also mind numbing because you're just like, holy cow! I mean, you can't even. Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, is it a lost cause at this point? Right? It's
Yeah, at some point you just go, yeah, this will never get. This debt's out of control.
Well, here's the thing. The lucky for us, we're still in a low interest rate environment. Imagine what that debt clock would look like if we won. It'd be so much worse. That's why this is the opportunity to stop the spending, pay down all this extra stuff we're doing, but that's just not happening in today's market. As far as the debt goes, I know you said that you guys get out of debt. I agree with that in a higher interest rate environment, but not necessarily in lower debt. And I'll tell you what I mean. I started saving for my own retirement when I was 22 years old, and I wasn't making a lot of money at all. I made sure that I put away as much as the IRS would allow each year to save, and I borrowed money to do that. But I managed the interest rate I paid, so I paid lower interest because I had a couple other companies approach me about managing finances, and they said, we'll do a financial needs analysis. And I said, all right, you do it your way, I'll do it my way, and we'll compare it. And they couldn't beat me.
Yeah.
And they tried to show me a way of saying, well, pay off your debt first. And a lot of financial advisors give this advice: pay your debt off before you invest in the market. And I said, okay, here's the debt I got, and I'm making the payments I've got right now with the salary I've gotten here, so I pay it down. It would take me this many years to pay off my debt. I think I came up to like 8.5 years. I said, if I decide to say, hey, I'm going to take on some additional debt, I'm going to put this much into retirement each year and blah, blah, blah. It turns out that I only extended my debt little less than 2 years to pay it off, but I had all this money that was now earning and working for me in retirement. And there was no way that there was a better situation to say 8.5 years from now, this debt's paid off, making the assumption I took no new debt, and I did. No new debt, and I had nothing in savings. It was always smarter to, if I could borrow low interest rate, to save, because you've got that time value of money, right? Let it earn.
Let it compounding
interest. Absolutely correct. So just to say, hey, I want to be debt free. You've got to evaluate that, and that's where that's a tough decision to make for a lot of folks that focus. I don't want to have any debt. To say, how can I make that debt work for me too?
Right.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
it's a different mindset.
I was going to pay my house off. Go ahead, Dean.
No, go ahead and say what you're going to say. I think mine might take an extra moment.
Yeah, I was originally had planned for about I think it was 6.5 years to be totally debt free. But when I refinanced my house at 2.99, I'm like, I need to rethink that, because I can take the additional and I can get 5 to 10% elsewhere.
Right. Correct.
So I think I rethought that piece of it and still accelerate my debt down, but use it more wisely. Yeah.
Right. So did you consolidate and pay off your other debt?
Still working on it, but yes, I have a pretty decent plan. I'm only down to about 17,000, actually under 17,000, and I've slowed down a little bit because I got a couple big projects going on, and once they fully kick in, because I'm getting solar and a bunch of other stuff on my house, and once my power bill goes away, and and then I don't even get me started on that one, but I got a date though.
That's another subject.
They're saying the 23rd, so it's a whole nother subject. But
that's 5 days. That's 5 days. It's going to happen in 5 days.
Well, I'm happy. 5 days is when they're supposed to start, and then obviously there'll probably be a week or two before they get the power company to actually flip the meter over.
Right.
Are you buying it or leasing it?
I'm buying it.
Good. Smart move.
Yeah.
Very smart move.
Yeah. So, and it was realistically cheaper than my power bill is currently. So for me, it kind of was a no-brainer. So, and I'm going to utilize the solar advantage because I mine out of my house. So I'm going to add more equipment, and at the same time, hopefully it'll be a nice net wash. So.
And I think I saw in the other video where you had updated AC and some other things to use less power as it starts already, correct?
Yes.
Because that's the smartest thing
AC,
to do.
hot water heater.
I had folks try to sell me solar, and then they wanted to hire me. So, but going over this kind of stuff. But it's the smart approach is to reduce the power that you need to use or the consumption before you buy the solar, because it costs more money to buy the solar equipment now. In my personal situation, it's smarter for me to wait because I don't have taxable income. I can, get the tax advantages on. And two, the price of the solar is going to drop significantly over the next few years as they become more efficient and the cost drop on building those things. So I will kick it around then, but I don't think I would do solar without the battery storage piece. Is another issue. But a lot of people forget that, when the power goes out, just because you got solar doesn't mean you're still going to have power. Because you're going to be connected to the grid, they're going to shut it off so somebody working on the power lines doesn't get zapped. So that's something else to think about.
I saw a report.
I negated. Good.
I saw a report that they're doing some new techniques in mining for lithium and nickel and all those metals that they need to make those batteries and stuff like that, which is kind of a big deal because that's going to be a big holdup if we can't get access to more materials to make these batteries and to progress the battery technology.
It's also
really
an asset class to.
I saw it was a news report, and it was a helicopter with a big magnet hanging underneath it, flying 50 feet off the ground, and they were taking deep pictures of the ground with this some type of magnet, and
it's like an MRI.
Yeah, and they were looking for those materials, the nickels, the coppers, the lithium, and all that stuff.
There's stuff they're getting off the ocean floors too. So
but they've got to do it because there's a massive shortage on especially the lithium. Just because blame Tesla, I guess.
Well, I mean, Tesla's not the only. Look at China. I mean, almost all their cars are. The ironic thing is almost all their cars are electric over there, and they still power their country on coal.
I see. I was doing some. I don't know why, but I was looking on Amazon for lithium batteries and whatnot. Like a big old car, marine deep cycle lithium battery, and it was like a 400 amp battery, and it was like, I think they had a 12 volt and a 24 volt, and it was like $1,600, and obviously that's pretty crazy considering you'd probably need 10 of those batteries to keep your keep your power going during the evening hours.
You guys use battery backups for your equipment, like your computers and things like that? Because I just replaced those battery backups with lithium batteries, and they're about double the price, but the life cycle is supposed to be almost 3 times as long.
Oh yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah, you're seeing through lead acid versus lithium, you're seeing 3,000 to 5,000 cycles on the lithium and maybe 1,000 cycles on the lead acid, which is the old technologies. What's in your car battery,
and it's half the weight.
Yeah. So, lithium's going to be a big deal, and if they can score some more, then hopefully battery technology, and then the car manufacturers, and then we're all going to be on lithium. But I'd want to, if I did solar. Unfortunately, I'm surrounded by trees, so it's not. I get the phone calls every week from people wanting to sell me a solar grid, and I'm like, sorry, but
Well, I've done a lot of the things around my house. I haven't done the solar yet, but I think, like you, George, I got a new roof. I went with the double pane windows on my house, so I've done all that. Other things that are going on that's helped quite a bit. But I heard the discussion. You guys did another video where you replace your air conditioner as well, kind of thing. My AC had to be replaced as well around all the same time. But one of the smartest things I did. This is the second time I replaced my AC. The first time I replaced it, because I've been here a long time. One of the smartest things I did was I actually increased the size of the blower motor I had in the house. Because it moved the air more efficiently. it made a world of difference. So when I did that, they had the compressor replaced, but they didn't have the blower motor when they were ready to install, because they usually come in pairs, right? So they special ordered the blower motor for me, but because it was so hot in the house, they replaced the compressor and came back a week later to put the blower motor in. The difference, once the new compressor came in the house with the old blower motor, it took about 25 minutes or so to get the temperature from 86 degrees down to 79 degrees in my house. 25 minutes. The new blower motor came in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Huge
yeah, I did my
difference.
I did my compressor last year, and I first of all, I noticed that my house was actually cold. I mean, cold versus just, barely livable. And then, and even if I'm paying for the same power, the fact that that's that much more comfortable, but it comes on, it goes off. I don't have to keep it set as low, which means it's not, coming on as much. Then of course you add the little, the Wi-Fi thermostat that I can kind of go into my phone and just, turn it off during the day if nobody's in the house. And yeah, so
yeah,
it kind
of leaves a weak point in your Wi-Fi though.
well, somebody wants to hijack
People do like
my air conditioning. Somebody wants to hijack my air conditioning, I guess.
Now I will get up and I'll go punch the button. Haven't done the Wi-Fi. I've got Wi-Fi at the house, but not that for the AC.
Yeah. And of course seems like today has been all about, planning your retirement. In my brain, I've never even thought about that word. I don't think I'll retire. I go, of course, retirement might be thrust upon me if I can't walk or see or hear or do the things I take for granted when I film video. But retirement, for me, I just don't see myself retiring. But
sometimes
different versions of retirement, so
just don't know it. So
yeah. Now
there you go.
You change your life to suit. You make, what is it? Plan the life you want to live in your older age. I don't see myself with a fishing pole, sitting on the side of a lake. But of course, if you want to travel, it costs a lot of money. You want to travel, it costs a lot of money, and you're not going to be able to afford that.
It gets back to planning. If you don't have money planned for it, you're not going to do it. But so Dan, I got a question for you then.
Sure.
So what do you think of the FIRE movement?
What's the FIRE movement?
Okay, so I was curious. So no, just in general, it's more of a it's kind of how my thought process is now. So basically, it stands for financially independent, retire early.
Oh, okay.
Probably haven't heard.
Mine wasn't planned. Mine was like, thanks for helping train a lot of employees. We don't need you here anymore.
Your contract is expired.
Yeah. So I've had 23 months of work since the end of 2013. Ooh. So do that. Wrap those numbers around your head real quick. And
wow.
So yeah. So I have a plan B. Obviously, I've got a second stream of income that I can turn on when I need to rely on it, kind of thing. And it is dividends. I don't know if you guys know this, but and it's just been bumped up again this year. I think to a little bit over $41,000 an individual can earn in qualified dividends, and there's no taxes.
Oh yeah, nice.
What's deemed a qualified dividend?
So it's typically when you've invested in a company stock and you've owned it for more than 12 months, then it qualifies as a dividend. Now, certain things like REITs and business development companies don't ever qualify for that because they're required to pay out a certain percentage in dividends every year. So if you're going to invest in those and have those dividends, it's usually smart to put those in something like a tax deferred or tax free account like a Roth. So it's not just in investing, it's thinking about, well, what tools do I use and where do I invest those? You need to know the difference between the different account types. So now you see why friends are saying I should have been a financial planner.
All right. So we're going to spend a few minutes. I got a situation. So, and I'm going to throw some things out there, based on, I carry, other than my mortgage, carry almost no debt. Nothing registerable, you know. And of course, being self-employed, you wait for checks. And of course, you know, so December's on right up in front of me. And of course, this is where companies they purge checks, you know, they start sending, oh, we're going to pay everybody off. So end of the year,
Clean.
we've expensed everything we can expense. And of course, I'm looking at it like, oh crap, I'm going to get $10,000 in checks. That's just going to hit me all at once. And it doesn't really have to go anywhere. I've got a savings account. I'm comfortable there. I've got a nice, you know, I've already put money into my, you know, I've got my money already set aside for my, my whole life insurance. So that's all taken care of. And my crypto is doing actually pretty good. So I'm going, you know, what do I do with this 10 grand? Now I could drop it right on the house and take my house down, you know, 10 grand in debt. Of course, I still have to pay the taxes on it, but still, I'm like, what do you do with that kind of, you know, in that situation? What do you do? You mentioned a Roth. It's tax deferred, so I could
it's tax free actually.
Okay.
Yeah, tax free. Not deferred.
Yeah, when you contribute to a Roth, you contribute with after tax dollars. So whatever it grows to is free. A lot of folks are trying to convert. In fact, one of the things I want to do here is to convert a portion of what I have in traditional over to Roth to protect it from all the onslaught of taxes we're going to have in the future with what the current administration is doing. So
what do you think? I mean, both of you guys can answer this. You know, what would you do with, you know, I know, George, you were doing something with a real estate investment in Nevada. You know, that's
it's in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
it's in Las Vegas. It's a 10-12% return.
Would I get more out of taking the you know, taking a big chunk off the debt of the house? Or of course, I'm only I think my mortgage interest.
What's your percentage?
Probably, I think it's in the high 3s. I got a pretty good, you know.
Okay.
That's not terrible, right?
Yeah. So there's other questions to ask about the mortgage. Like, so it's usually better when you have a mortgage to pay that extra principal at the beginning of the loan, because it wipes out so much more interest at the beginning of the loan.
Yeah.
Because your principal is a smaller amount of each payment.
Right.
So if you've got that loan, how long have you been in that mortgage loan?
I've been in it for 4 years, maybe 5 years.
Okay, and I'm assuming it's a 30-year fixed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but also keep in mind, you don't plan on moving.
You know, well, I mean, you know, it's one of
you
those
don't think
things
you
where
will. Let's put it that way.
You know, my property values actually way surpassed what I owe on the house. I'm like, wow, I have equity. You know, I was so long underwater.
Think about tapping in, but yeah, I know.
I was so long underwater with that house since the bubble, because I bought it. I got one of the bad Fannie Mae loans, and I, you know, I managed to keep the house, but I had to get a lawyer to sue the, you know, whoever my mortgage company was at the time, to get a fixed interest rate, and you know, they did it, and that was probably the best $1,000 I ever spent, and now, you know, having a fixed rate, you know, I think my house payment is like $900 a month, which is fine. You know, you know, so like I said, it's one of these things where, you know, do I, you know, one of my thought process would be look for a business investment that I could secure my work future for a while, you know, which could have meant buy another camera, or you know, look into something that helps me pivot and increase my income.
Well, you also go back to what your topic was today, was your retirement and planning for retirement. And if you don't have anything for that, while I mentioned IRAs and Roth to you earlier, you as a business owner have other options. And this is where you want to go to the IRS website and look at the options for retirement plans for self-employed people, because your limits are much higher in what you're allowed to contribute.
Oh, really?
And start looking at those and think about, hey, well, what are my options?
I need to look at that.
Yes, absolutely. You can look at, it's such much higher limits than well, I think our age group, if you're over 55, you can contribute like what, $7,000 or maybe $7,500 a year, something like that.
I
Now,
think it's 6,500. It was
I
5,500.
think it's 6,500, but then there's an additional 500 or additional 1,000, one of the two. I think it's an additional 1,000
okay.
for those over 55. So there's a slightly higher, and it changes like every couple of years. It keeps creeping up.
Sure.
When they initially came out, it was $2,000 per individual, or if you were a married couple, it was $2,000 for the married couple. And then they finally said, no, let's go back to doing it per individual. And then it's just been creeping up ever since. But as a business owner, you've got different plans. You can throw that into you choose how it's invested, kind of thing. So I would tell you to look at that. As far as your house goes, because you've got all that equity, you can get a lower interest rate today if you've got good credit. And I can tell you where to shop for that. But you can look at doing that and say, hey, I can tap that equity. If I want to throw the equity into this or throw into the business, you've got some flexibility there, and you can probably lower your payment. I know it's only $900, but you can probably lower that again.
Yeah,
the rates are below 3%.
But you're doing a trade-off though, because if you take some of the equity back, then you're increasing your debt. Literally,
you are. So here's what I did: I refied my house earlier this year as well, but because the principal was so low, the first few payments that I've made on my loan, I've already got the first 3 years of the loan knocked off.
Wow.
So I pay extra at the beginning of the loan. I told you I had to replace my car, so I did the same thing. I'll have a couple of years knocked off of that loan in no time, pay extra at the beginning of the loan, and then slow down and pay less on the loan as it gets older, because the principal increases on the payment and the interest reduce on a fixed rate loan.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I do something a little bit different.
Yeah. And it gives you a way to use that debt to work for you. Because again, you're talking about retirement and something you plan on has to grow over time. The three of us don't have much more time to say, hey, we're going to hit retirement in 10, 15 years. Is that money going to grow?
Right.
So
no, I there's definitely a more lucrative, sharper way to make that money. I'm always about trying to find the best possible scenario. Yeah.
The reason that's so critical right now is because of where we are with interest rates now, and where those interest rates are going to be next year and the year after. They're already telegraphing rates are going to creep up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's why, as an existing homeowner, this is a strong tool to say, tap into it now. I don't expect the real estate market to pull back much in Florida, just because so many people are leaving the blue states where they're being overtaxed and they're coming here, they're coming to Texas, those kind of things. And so I don't think you have to worry about what you experienced back in 2008. I lived through that as well. I was okay, but it was a mess to be in the situation you were in. Probably had an arm and all that other jazz. That's a mess.
Oh, the 5-year arm. Yes. I had the 5-year arm, and I got to tell you, problem is I got a risky loan because I was a risky.
Because you were self-employed.
Because I was self-employed,
Absolutely.
and the person that helped me get the mortgage probably did a little creative numbering on my application and found a way to get me slip me through the cracks. And I got to tell you, what really got people in trouble is they go, well, I can buy 3 houses if you can slip me through the cracks,
Right.
And that's, and then of course, all that inventory went back into the market and people were walking away, and, I came close to walking away, but it just was a better situation for me to keep it. And because what was I going to do? Go rent a place? And it was, the fixed rate definitely was good.
A lot of the folks that walked away got a rude surprise because they didn't realize that the mortgage that they walked away from, some of that could be treated as income, and they got taxed on it. So it was just, it's such a painful thing for so many people.
Yeah. So
I think that comment's for you, Dean. I'll let you read that one.
Oh, wait, there's a comment. Is that my brother again?
Nope.
Maria saying, start a soap business. Okay. Yeah, that's my retirement plan right now. I'm going to start a soap business. Dan, if you don't know, Maria and I were goofing around with how do you make soap, and for the most part we figured out how to make soap, and you go to those farmers markets and there are people selling a bar of soap for $8.
You know, I could, you know, I was saying, you know, I could buy a 10-pack of Dial for $5,
Right.
melt it down, throw a little sprinkle of whatever and change the perfume a little bit and mold it in a fun way. And I could sell that 50-cent bar of soap for $8. That's a good markup. I'd take that in front of Shark Tank any day, and they'll go, "Oh, that's brilliant, great idea," you know. But that's my soap business, you know. That's I'm holding that in my back pocket, you know. Maybe I need to invest $10,000 in soap.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
Soap futures. Yeah, soap futures. You know, people don't know Soap futures is big. You know, please don't anybody out there take me seriously. Yeah, but you know, the soap business, and every time I go to a farmer's market, I see a guy selling an $8 bar of soap, and it just happens to be shaped funny, or you know, it's like, oh my god, really?
With the colors, marble, buying it,
and people are because it's a gift. Oh, here's your housewarming gift. Here's a bar of soap, overpriced soap. I couldn't think of anything really worth it, so here's some soap. But yeah, funny. It's just one of those things. Like, you know, if I had a bunch of people that were unemployed, I'd start a soap business. I'd start what else? Hot Naja would hate me, but I'll start a hot dog business in a second. You know.
Hey, Donald's here too.
Yeah, that's my brother. There he is. Maybe a new business should be shaving cream for Dean. Looking a little scruffy. Thank you for that. That's my brother. You know, the love I get. You know, wonderful. So one's telling me I'm in the wrong business. The other one's telling me I'm kind of messy. So it's 8:00. It's 8:02. This is fun. I have so much fun doing this show because I'm learning. You know, this is me learning. You know, because knowledge is power.
Right.
You know,
it is
NBC, but you know, it's that little knowledge is power thing. You know. Anyway, old joke. So. You know, this is fun, and Dan, I'd love to have you back, and you know, as often as you want, and we'll get into some new things, and I definitely want to talk to you about, you know, what do I do with that extra money I got? Go to the casino and put it all on black? Maybe. I don't know.
A little bit,
know,
maybe
50-50 shot. You know, I could. You know.
If you're looking for like,
just don't take a lot with you.
Yeah. If you're looking for something to generate current revenue, you know, you open yourself up a brokerage. You might want to consider some of the nice blue chip stocks that are doing nothing but increasing dividends. And I just read an article today about the plans for these companies to continue raising even more next year, kind of thing. And it's just one of those things where these companies will grow slowly, but they're increasing their dividend payout. And you know, so it's
Dividend Aristocrats, I think.
Yeah. Yep, that's one of those dividend income channel, good channel, but yep.
Yeah, that's actually I'm increasing.
Right, so far, my crypto is increasing incredible revenues. So
yeah, but what are your dividends?
Well, I haven't cashed out any of them yet. So
actually, believe it or not, I'm trying to get Dean more into more of interest-based assets for crypto. All of my crypto is earning money daily. I get paid every day.
Wow.
So not only that, I get paid with my servers, so that's a payment. But you know, I definitely interest-based. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
I'll send you a picture of my rig.
Okay. That'll drive up.
But
how is your server? The one in the server farm?
Doing good. Yeah. It's doing good. I mean, it's obviously not where I expected it to be, but it's a consistent payment for me, and you know, and my interest payments are growing nicely. And but yeah, so I mean, I'm happy with where it's at, and I plan on adding more here soon, especially when I get the solar in. Because I can increase my profit at my house to, you know, potentially $20-$25 a day. You know, I can work with that all day long.
Plan? Have you told them that in your solar plan? Because they want to make sure that they have enough panels on there for what you're going to add.
Yes, that was why I kind of spec'd out a system should have been bigger than I need because I planned on using it.
That's absolutely correct. Well, honestly, in a few years, I mean, you're going to see that if people go to replace cars, most folks are going to go to these EV models. Those kind of cars, and that's going to be something that's going to add additional drain. So just make sure there's more room for more panels when you need them.
Yeah, we'll see if I'll have more room up there. I got a big backyard though.
So you texted me earlier about Algorand going through the roof.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I looked, it was like, for about 5 minutes, Algorand tripled in value.
It was like,
and then it dropped again. Almost had to have been a fluke. Somebody, like, I don't know, left the door open or something like that, and just, Algorand went, and then they went and chopped it. But actually, I'm more interested in Decentraland. It hit an all-time high of $5. And we're talking a coin that was maybe 30 cents back in January, and I had a good chunk of numbers, and all of a sudden it hit $5. And I'm going,
did it stay up there or did it come down?
It came down a little. It's now at like $4. But still, I'm like, it hit the high threes, and then it jumped up probably the same time Algorand jumped up, and and I'm like, I can never catch it when they hit those big numbers, because then I might sell, but
maybe take a little profit off the table.
I don't know, but so far I've tripled my money, in the last 8 months, so, and it's not just like spending $20, it's
a
decent amount of money. So, but and I noticed Shiba Inu dropped a little bit.
Did it?
Because I looked at my asset,
which
more? Might be a good time for you to buy, George, because I know you haven't bought it yet. So drop $100 on Shiba,
I have some other assets I'm chasing, so I know it's probably at a good number, but I have some other things I'm looking at that I'm kind of liking the long-term prospects on.
Yeah, well,
I'm looking at Hex. I'm looking at Hex right now, and I'm gonna. I can't buy them all, damn it.
I know, but get rid of some of those
I can try,
ones. That's what I did with Shiba. I just kind of, kind of moved some other stuff around on some crypto that I lost a little bit of money on. So I just managed to, just move it.
Maybe I'll convert. I'll convert my USDC, because I went to sell that the other day because I was going to put it somewhere else. I only have like $20-$25. They want to charge me $13. I'm like, shh. Well, I'll just let it die. I was like, holy cow! I was shocked when I saw that number. I was like, holy cow!
Now that was that Coinbase?
It was in Coinbase. I was gonna move it somewhere else. Thinking, all right, I'll pay whatever it's $13, and I don't have $20 in there, and I'm going.
I think if you do conversions,
that's what I'm gonna do.
They don't charge you as much.
I'm gonna try to convert that to Shiba Inu, and just let that ride, and I'll probably sell my Algorand to do the other. So
I started with $20 in Shiba. I got like 1 million coins, and then I took I just converted a 2 or 3 other coins I had that were worth maybe a couple $100, and now I've got 10 million coins.
Nice.
If that does anywhere near what Dogecoin did, there's my retirement. If anything, you know what I did? I bought a lottery ticket for the life of that coin. So if it dies, I might have lost a couple $100. If it does something, which it's actually been increasing, I think I've tripled my money, and then it dropped a little bit, and I doubled my money, and I'm like, okay, still doubling money,
Be patient, be patient.
So I'm not
selling anytime fast. So.
But I would tell you that I'm not in the crypto
space. Dan?
But I was going to say I'm not in the crypto space or haven't invested there, but I do know that IRS is putting out rules for this type of thing and trying to go after profits folks are making. So you might want to, like, looking at the retirement accounts, look in there and see what those rules are going to be as well.
So dividends, then the other thing that you were saying, how you can pull out what, 40,000 in dividends.
So you don't pull it out. This is what it is. Is you've bought into your stock, right?
Yeah.
They start paying you dividends after you've owned that stock for 12 months. They turn into what's called qualified dividends, meaning they qualify for the lower rate. But
long-term assets.
Right. So you can earn up to that amount. I told you, I think a little over 40, maybe about $41,000 this year, tax-free. But keep in mind, if you have other income and those things, you're going to get pushed into a tax bucket. So it's different. But if that's the only income you have, no taxes on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this all sounds great. We're over an hour, so let's just call it a night.
All right.
Sounds good.
Friday's here. Valentine's Day. I'm guessing we're probably not going to do a show on Valentine's Day. I'm not Valentine's. Thanksgiving Day.
I was about to say, isn't that in February?
Where did that come from? Right. Thanksgiving is next Thursday. So I'm guessing we're probably not going to do a show.
Yeah, we'll do a rerun maybe.
Yeah, we'll do whatever. Well, and I believe the Thursday after that, I might be out of town. So if I can, we'll figure out a way to do it. And
okay.
Nope, Thursday after that, I'll be in town. The Thursday after that, I'll be out of town. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. Please like, follow, and share. Thank you for watching. Thanks to my brother and Maria for contributing. We're out. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Nice meeting you, Dan.
It's a pleasure.
Nice
Let's
feel free to reach out. We can chat one day.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to turn the webcast off right now.
All right.
Have a good night.